There is one question that I want to answer, and it's the same question for three different persons. Kenan Yildiz, will he be there in season 25-26, wearing the number 10 of the Bianconeri? Igor Tudor, will he still be on the bench of the Bianconeri next season? And then Renato Veiga, will Juventus try to speak with Chelsea so to make sure that he becomes the center back of next season 25-26? Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. I will try to answer that same question for the three players and much more, of course. Before starting, let me wish a happy birthday to Martina Beda. She knows how important she is and she was for the channel, so happy birthday again, Martina. Before speaking about Juventus, speaking about ourselves, let's speak about what happened yesterday, because yesterday Matchday 32 was extremely important, and I think that we need to say thank you to a few ex-Bianconeri. Claudio Ranieri at the head of Roma, that yesterday blocked Lazio with that 1-1, and especially that fantastic goal of Mattia Sole. What a goal. It was really long time that I didn't see a technical gesture, a skill like that. It was really amazing. A shot without controlling with his left foot. Bam, 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 bam. Twice the bar. The ball was in. The referee said, here, the goal is valid, 1-1, super important. Am I missing Mattia Sule? No, I think it's a really great player. He didn't play well, honestly. For 65 minutes, he was a bit ghosting the game. But then, that one was extremely beautiful. And we need to say thank you, because pushing away Lazio, in the meanwhile also pushing away Roma, was super important for the next games of Serie A, especially if we are speaking about ranking. Look, thanks to the draw of yesterday between Lazio and Roma in the Derby della Capitale, we are now fourth. We were already, whatever the result, but we are fourth, maybe for even longer if we are doing our job. Inter is doing their game. Napoli is playing today. We don't care in a way, because they are still far from Juve. If they lose today, they are still at +6. No way that you're able to recuperate them. But then the other results were extremely important. Atalanta-Bologna. Look, a lot of time I ask myself, what was the best result in that game? A win of Atalanta, like it happened with that 2-0, a win of Bologna, or a draw? The same for Lazio-Roma. I was asking myself that question. And then Fiorentina. Are we obliged to still pay attention to Fiorentina? The answer is yes. For what reason? Because of the remaining games. Well, Parma, that we are playing next week in their home, they were able to stop after Inter, also Fiorentina. So pay attention. The game of this weekend will be super important. Don't believe it will be easy. It will be Genoa. It will be Lecce. It will be a bit more difficult. A bit more difficult because Parma, with Kivu, that is playing them, really alert, really cautious. We block everything and then we go fast up front. Pay attention, we'll speak about Parma this week, because it's not as easy as a lot of people think. But the ranking is now telling us Juventus is fourth, isolated fourth, +2 over Bologna, which means we have the destiny in our hands. We are at the moment in Champions League, and the mission of all the one that are making part of Juve is to remain in Champions League. If we are winning, and it's easy said on paper or in theory, if we are winning the 7 remaining games, we are in Champions League. So everything depends on us now, not on the other ones. And that's already the really beautiful news. The second one is the ranking. The schedule, sorry. I told you already about the schedule so many times. We have, on paper, the easiest one. If you're able to beat Parma and then Monza, a big part will be done. Playing then against Bologna away, against Lazio away, where everything will be decisive, but important to arrive in these 2 games that will be consecutive with the wins of Parma and Monza. Then finishing against Udinese on the 5th of May. No, not the 5th of May. A bit later. Anyway, it's the penultima. And then against Venezia. The other one that has an easy schedule is Fiorentina. That's why I told you it's easy, it's good to push them away, because Cagliari, Empoli, Roma, Venezia, Bologna, Udinese, on paper they have an easier one. So good that they are at -6 at the moment of Juve. Lazio is the other one with the easy calendar, so that's also good that yesterday they were pushed away by Solé, Ranieri and Boys, because Genoa, Parma, Empoli, also them, they could possibly come back with a 9 points. So pay attention to Lazio. Bologna, that's good, because they have a really difficult calendar, starting with Inter next week. They will play again Juve, Milan, Fiorentina, so Bologna out of that top 4 after the loss of yesterday is possible. They will win the easy games. Depends what they will do in the difficult game. That's why for one time I think it's good to Inter to win the game of next week against Bologna. And Atalanta, the big games are nearly over. They still have to play Milan. That will tell us a lot, and then they have an easier one on paper for Atalanta. So Juventus have their destiny in their hands. Now, that being said, about the top 4, we know it, huh? Let's speak about that question that I had about next season. The man that is on all the front pages. We are speaking about Kenan Yildiz, the one that already scored 50% of the goals that Igor Tudor was able to score, because the other ones were scored by Koopmeiners and by Locatelli. Well, Kenan Yildiz, we read on La Gazzetta dello Sport, Yildiz vola. Yildiz is flying. Now Juventus, they want to keep him. Let's say, honestly, immediately, that Juventus had never have the intention or the will to sell the Turkish number 10. Never. Juventus have always wanted to keep him also for next season. Yildiz, to answer also that question, never wanted to leave Juve. So why were we speaking about calciomercato? Why were we speaking about that? For a few reasons. First, because when a player is talking with an agent like Jorge Mendes, that is still not officially his agent, you always have that gossip. Why is he talking? Does he want to change to become actually supported by a bigger agent because he wants to answer the big clubs? And that's one. Two, because some big clubs were really interested in Yildiz. Nobody went with a big offer at the moment, but Arsenal is extremely interested in Kenan. So pay attention also to the big offers that are arriving on the other side, and that was actually why all the papers were speaking about Kenan, because if you miss top 4, it will be extremely difficult, not only because of prestige, because you're not playing that biggest competition, but also financially, because you will be obliged to compensate the big loss in terms of money, and that's why we were speaking about that. And then if you want to, in the last few weeks with Thiago Motta, we saw Kenan probably losing a bit of smile. It's not one that is going with controversy. It's not one that is going with enigmatic messages on social media like Instagram, like I don't know what. It's a player that is doing his job, is doing what is requested, but we saw the smile disappearing on the face of Kenan. And we see in the last 3 games that Kenan is smiling, but also extremely productive. We were asking goal contribution, already 2 goals, beautiful plays from Kenan. Cura Tudor. Tudor is giving a bit of health. Is helping to Kenan to perform better. He's much more central into the game, but also on the field, and he's even a bit more calm. Kenan is not leaving. Kenan is not moving. Is the title of Gazzetta dello Sport that, honestly, to be honest, they were the one that were pushing more and more and more that news every time Kenan will leave, Kenan will be on the market. There were clubs on Kenan, and today they changed their mind. Good, because if the pink paper is starting to continue to push, you know it, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days with all that gossip. I don't like to see big players like we have on the market on the Gazzetta paper that is actually still quite influent in the voices of and the head of a lot of people that are reading it, reading the titles, and then you never know what can happen. So good that we have Gazzetta on our side. Kenan va a tutta, is going all in, is going full power. Now Juventus wants to keep their jewel. Again, I repeat, Juventus never wanted to let him go because of the performances of the player, because of the potential of the player, and we are speaking about his skills on the field, but also because of marketing reason, because of the trust that Juventus put on him, giving him that number 10. If you go to Istanbul, really close to the TV station, what do you see? You see murales, kind of murales, one with Arda Güler, the other one with Kenan Yildiz. You don't see Çalhanoğlu, you don't see Ferdi, you don't see other players. You see Arda Güler, Kenan Yildiz in Turkey. What does that mean? That they know that these are the big stars of Turkey. They have a really great fan base in Turkey that are also looking at Juve. They are looking up at these 2 young talents. Well, one of them is a Juve player. So also there, Juventus has no intention to let him go that easily. Then, of course, if 150 million euro offer arrives, Juventus will think about it. Who is the one that could possibly suffer from Yildiz not leaving is Cambiaso. But that's a discussion for next weeks. Let's calm down at the moment. Let's go towards the second question. Igor Tudor. Well, in today's Gazzetta dello Sport, they're all convinced Tudor is not giving up. He's not giving up anything. He's focused, he's working, he's angry. They are reporting also that Tudor was pissed off after the game of Lecce, entering the locker room after the game. He was furious, yelling, screaming, because he didn't appreciate how players entered, the 5 subs, but also how Juventus as a whole managed the last 10 minutes that could have thrown away everything that we did in 80 minutes. So Tudor was pissed off. He knows that he's playing his own future. Now, Gazzetta and Tuttosport, they are going towards one thing, one common thing, and that's always important. At Juventus, they start really to be convinced that he's a right name, that he's much more than that caretaker label that he received. Not only a motivator, but also someone that understands football, is able to translate his ideas and entering the mind of the players, and they are able also to convince, to show them, look what he was able to do with a minimum of time. Juventus is now thinking to confirm Igor Tudor is what Gazzetta is writing. And here I want to say, calma, stop, don't go too fast. Maybe we are exaggerating. Don't go with easy conclusions after only 3 games on paper, because we know it, that impact, we saw an impact like that with Conceição, the father, the coach of Milan, that arrived, mamma mia. Everyone was telling me, look at what Conceição is doing with Milan. Look how able he was to boost them to win that Supercoppa. We know it because we were there. I was there to win against Juve and then to win the final against Inter. Look at that. They were able to do the right decision on the right time. And then you saw, boom, that boost was away. So calma. I really want Tudor to sit on the bench of Juve next season. I want him to succeed. I want him to win all the games, to qualify to Champions League, and also to perform and do extremely well in that Club World Cup. Ideally, I want the Croatian coach to be our coach next season, the season after, for the next 10, 15 years until he goes in retirement, which means that we are winning every single season. Because if a coach is winning at Juve, you have more probabilities to stay. Not always. Remember Sarri, remember Pirlo. But that means a lot. But at the moment, I would say calma. Calma, calma, calma. Because we have opportunities. We have opportunities with other coaches, maybe, that are maybe a bit more ideal for Juve. I don't know what name they have in mind. Antonio Conte, Jurgen Klopp or whatever. I don't believe in Jurgen Klopp, but just to tell you. Or you can go with Igor Tudor. We have time, so calma. I know that a lot of people are starting to be convinced and they want Igor to stay with us, but I would say calma. Let him finish the season. Let us qualify to Champions League. Let's see how we are continuing to perform, and then we take a decision all together in the summer. Now it's a bit too early. On the other side, it's true that I also wanted to touch on Antonio Conte, also him on Gazzetta dello Sport, with that big message. Antonio vota Napoli. Antonio Conte is voting Napoli. He took his decision. He wants to stay at Napoli also next season. True or not, I have absolutely no idea. But it's true that a lot of people are saying, look, there are only 2 names for us, Antonio or Igor. If it's not Antonio, I want to continue with Igor. Look, it's true that if Antonio decides to stay at Napoli and not to change, it will be easier for Juventini to continue with Igor, to accept Tudor for the people that do not want him. Let's see what will happen. It's no decision at the moment, and then I want to go towards Renato Veiga. Juventus, at the moment, they are not able to really go all in for players on loan, a la Conceição, a la Colomwani. They can't. It's extremely difficult because we know it. We didn't qualify to Champions League at the moment. We don't know what competition we will play. Will it be Europa League? Will it be Champions League? Will it be none of them? Because we know it. If we start to lose all the remaining games, we are even out of European competitions. Would be tragic, will be a total disaster. But on the other side, there is one player where they really want to start doing an effort because he's convincing everyone. El Tribunero, the one that is raising the voice of the people in the tribuna, in the stands. We're speaking about Renato Veiga. 21 years old, is convincing everyone of that Juventus DNA that is missing at Juve and that is able not only to master, to have, but also to share, but also a good player with a lot of technical skills. I'm still doubting that he's the perfect defender at today, but he's extremely young. He's only 21. He has a lot of margin to grow, and I'm sure he will continue to grow. At the moment, in that different role than with Thiago Motta, playing a bit closer to our goal, being the last man standing, except of a few mistakes here and there, is doing really well. So Renato Veiga, I would be all in for that player. Now we know it doesn't depend on Juve. It depends on Chelsea. Chelsea, at the moment, they didn't decide yet. Maresca would love to keep him. He's in love with the player, had no chance to keep him. But that's what Maresca wants to do. Chelsea, they didn't decide because they have an extra large team. So pay attention for that one. But Renato Veiga, Juventus want to try to go for him. Ragazzi, that was it for the first video of today. I will try to go with the second video today. If you didn't yet, please put a maximum of like. Don't forget to subscribe. Grazie, forza, Juve.